Madhyoli Charanam, Jayanandalala. Today we're going to continue our beautiful Madurai Meenakshi session. To start off, how the Queen Kanchanamala, to think of her, it's something huge, because to give birth to a goddess is not, it's like so much of penance that person must have done to actually come to this space where the Ambal, decides to be born as her child. So when I talk about Meenakshi's mother, Queen Kanchanamala, who was she? She was a Gandharva. She was a Gandharva, and she was a big devotee of goddess Parvati. So every day she would do puja and dance for her, sing for her. So this was her previous life. This is how she was during her previous life. And her name was Vidyavati. So this is who she was in her previous life. A Gandharva. Fully immersed in goddess Parvati's bhakti. Bhakti for her. And so much of bhakti that one fine day, the goddess appeared before her. So now the Vidyavati thought the goddess is, however we picture her, right? Beautiful lady, a beautiful woman, sleek and slender and all that hair, beautiful hair, the kiridam, beautiful sari, or however you want to imagine her wearing 9 yards or 6 yards, however you imagine, she's going to come that way. But she did not come that way. She came as a small girl. Have you seen Bala? She came like Bala. She came in the form of a small, cute girl. And she was standing there holding a lotus flower. Vidyavati was stunned. And she said that you're praying to me. And I'm here. Tell me what you want. You can ask me anything. Vidyavati felt like she was so cute. She wanted to go and give her a hug. She wanted to go and just... Because this is not the usual goddess. This is a form of the goddess where you want to go and hold her and hug her and pinch her cheeks. That is the form she came in. Vidyavati was immediately so attracted to that form of the Devi, that cuteness overload form of the Devi, that she said, Amma, all I want is for you to be born as my daughter. I want you this way, in this form, she said. And the girl, that little girl laughed. She laughed. That is why she came in that form, isn't she? Didn't she? She came in that form so that this poor woman gets attracted to that form and asks for it. So, yeah. The girl said, yes, I will come to you in the same form. I will be born to you in the same form, but not now. In your next Janma, where you are the Pandya queen, I will be the Pandya princess. And the queen of Madurai, she says. And Vidyavati was stunned. She was like, okay. So she says, continue with your penance. And I will reach out to you. I will come to you when the time comes, she says. And she says bye to her and leaves. She's not like the usual goddess here. She's like that cuteness. Only if you see Bala live, you'll know this. And well, that is what happened. That is exactly what happened. When Queen Kanchanamale and the King Malaya Dwaja Pandian did the yagna, there was the fire grew bigger, and they saw, the queen saw the image of the same cute little girl that she saw in her previous birth. But only after she saw the girl, she could remember everything. She could recall everything, her memory. Because who remembers their previous birth? Unless it's needed, it's never given to you. Only if the Lord wants you to know, it's given to you. And here, she wanted her to know, and it was given to her. Once she saw the little girl, she recalled everything. And that little girl became a baby and was given to the couple. That's when everything came back to her, and she was convinced, and she was over thrilled that her penance, her prayers were all granted at that moment. She knew that the Devi was born to her. She came to her. That is something. See, the penance, the strength, the power of penance. You want something, especially when it comes to divine granting you. You love the divine. You love the goddess. And you wanted her. You didn't want a big bungalow. You didn't want a big car. You didn't want a big thing. So these kind of things are granted to you. But penance is required. With the right amount of penance, the right kind of penance, you get it. So simple. Not really simple, but yeah, it's pretty simple if you think about it. When your mind is clear, when your heart is pure, and you're only thinking about this, it's granted to you. See how beautiful that is. And of course, we were talking about the Thiruvalaiyadal of the Lord in Madurai. I have this interesting story about that. There was a king, Abhisheka Pandian. Now, it's all about Pandyas. You know, Pandyas have ruled our country for, it's timeless. Even before the Christian era, even before that. I mean, the Yugam, Treta Yugam, you'll find Pandya attached to many kings' names. Mahabharata, Pandya is attached to a lot of kings' names. So they have been around for Yugams. So when you read the history, you'll know Pandyas are not ordinary kings. They've ruled our earth, our bhumi for a very, very long time, the Tamil kingdom for a very long time. Now, this Abhisheka Pandian, this is a story about one of the kings named Abhisheka Pandian, who was very, very lucky to have encountered a beautiful Thiruvalaiyadal by the Lord. Let's see what he did. Now, the Lord we know, he makes sure everybody understands that he's there or he's doing this, you know. He's not quiet. So now, there was a time when the Lord was going around the city of Madurai performing a lot of miracles. And these miracles were not performed quietly. It was like intentionally making a big buzz in the city. You know, he wanted it to make an impact. So he saw a very old, crippling man with a stick walking. He would just go and tap him and he'd say, "How are you doing? You're okay?" And then he'll pull the stick away from him, and that man gets all the energy. He becomes young again, and he's standing erect and nothing like he was 10 seconds ago. Now, he would do this in front of everybody. And he was disguised as a very simple siddhar. This is how he disguised himself as while doing all these miracles. He was just wearing a rudraksha, malai, vibhuti, and normal siddhar. But everybody saw the miracle and they were like, "Whoa, wow." And you know how it is, like everybody talk, and it kind of spreads like fire. Now, not only that, he went around making a dumb person sing, talk. He would make a diseased person fine. And then he would make the iron gold. He would just walk into an ironsmith's place and then touch the iron and it will turn gold. All this he did in front of everybody. The Leelas, Thiruvalaiyadal, literally. For him, it's a game. Shiva in the most amusing form, which nobody knows unless they actually read about Thiruvalaiyadal. They read this epic and get to know the Lord. Every time it's portrayed as Shiva is yogi, performing meditation all the time. And the kids find Lord Shiva very boring. Well, narrate these stories to the kids. They would love him too. And so many other things, so many other Valayatu he did in Madurai. Sports. For him, it's a sport. And now, of course, if everybody is talking, who will get to know? The king will get to know. Eventually, it enters the palace grounds, you know. The talk enters the palace grounds. The soldiers will be talking, and then slowly the minister will come to know. The minister goes to the king and he tells the king, "Maharaja, I have a news. We have a stranger in the city. He is doing this. He's performing miracles. All the people are praising him." Now the king has to make sure, who is this? That's his duty, right? To keep his praja, his subjects safe. It's his duty. He wants to see who this is. It's not an ordinary thing, making an old man young and a lame man walk and just a touch. So it's not an easy thing, right? To make all these miracles. It's not easy. So the king is thinking, "Oh my God, this person is something. Can you bring him here?" He says. "Bring him to the court. Bring him to the palace." The minister is like, "Okay, yes, sir." And he goes And he goes to Siddhar and he does the pranam and he says, seeks his blessings and he says, the king wants to see you. Can you please come? He looks at him and he's like, the king wants to see me? I have nothing to do with the king. What benefit do I get by seeing your king? I don't have any benefit. If he wants to see me, he can come. Typical Shiva, Lord Shiva. He has to show who he is, right? He's not an ordinary person. He's the Lord. So let him come. So the minister's like, okay, now I have to go and give this message to my king. What do? I have to. I want to go. So he goes and he very cautiously tells him, Maharaja, he wants to see you, but he wants you to go there. He said he won't come from there. He doesn't go out of that place. So the Raja says, so much ahangaram, arrogance. I'll go see him. Now he doesn't want to say, okay, I don't want to see him, because he's very inquisitive. Who is this? Anxious. So he comes. Now the Siddhar knows that the king is coming because it's not an ordinary person. When the king is coming to the temple, everybody knows. It's the chariot and all that, noise. So the Siddhar immediately quickly goes and sits in front of the Durga Sannidhi in the temple, Meenakshi temple. He just goes and sits there, waiting for the king. He closes his eyes. The king slowly comes and he sees the Siddhar over there. He doesn't disturb him. The minister goes to call the Siddhar. The king says, don't disturb him. And they're waiting for the Siddhar to open the eyes. The Lord knows they're all here waiting for him. He slowly opens his eyes and he looks at them. So the Raja has come to see you, he says. Yes, I've come to see you. And he does namaskaram to the Siddhar. Very politely, he asks him, Swami, who are you? Where have you come from? Which city do you belong to? Which country do you belong to? Why are you performing tricks here in Madurai? Is there anything I can do for you? Do you want anything from me? Siddhar is looking at him. So many questions at the same time. So he looks at him and he smiles. I don't belong to a city or country, he says. Every place belongs to me. All of your people are coming and asking me so many things, their desires and wishes. And I happily give it to them, he says. Do you need anything? Ask. I'll give it to you. Can you imagine that? The Lord coming and asking, disguised, what do you want? I'll give it to you. But the stupid mind doesn't agree, right? It's doubting. So the king was like, my God, so much arrogance inside. He's not saying it out. So much arrogance is not right. And he calls himself a Siddhar. He's thinking, Hmm. The only thing I know about Siddhars is they are so humble. They don't say, I belong or I did. He says every place belongs to him. What is he? Chokkanadar or the Lord Sundarar? He's thinking. So he said it, right? The only person who has the right to say that is the Lord Sundareshwarar himself. So he says, I have to test him. So he looks at the Siddhar, and after all these thoughts in his mind, it's like, now I have to test him. Okay, Swami, I understand. If you are that powerful, if you can grant any wish of mine, I have one wish. You see that sugar cane over there? And you see that statue, elephant sculpture. There was an elephant sculpture, the stone sculptures in the temple. The elephant sculpture was there. So he says, make that elephant eat this sugar cane, he says. If you do that, I agree. You're not just an ordinary Siddhar. You are actually Sundareshwarar himself, he said. The Lord Sundareshwarar. So the Siddhar looks at him and he's like, is that so? Okay. That's a piece of cake for me. And he looks at the elephant. He glanced at the elephant. And immediately that elephant became so huge, humongous. He pulled the sugar cane as if it knew what it had to do. The elephant comes to life. It knew exactly what it's supposed to do. It takes the sugar cane and munches it up in seconds. And next, its trunk reaches out to the king's pearls on his neck. He snatches the pearls from the king's neck. Before it could do anything, everybody, all the people watching there were so shocked and scared. They were like, so much confusion. They wanted to run because it's an elephant. And the Siddhar just said that. He did that and the elephant stopped. It calmed down and it went back to the sculpture form. The king knew. He fell at his feet for asking for forgiveness. I'm sorry. Swami, I'm sorry. You are the Lord himself. I'm stupid. I tested you. It's my stupidity. I didn't trust when you said, so everything belongs to you. I didn't trust you. And fell at his feet. Now, the Siddhar asks, the Lord asks, what boon do you want? He has to give the king something, right? It's after all his land. He's the king. Madurai king is Lord Sundareshwarar. So he says, ask what do you want? And the king said he wanted a son with good virtues. He said, you got it. And that's it. Beautiful. Look at that. And the king was blessed with a son. And that was the beautiful episode that king got to experience with the Lord himself. That is one of his Thiruvalaiyadal in Madurai. And now coming to this temple, beautiful temple. It's built in a Dravidian architecture, lofty gopurams, decorated pillars, and the lingam has existed. There is no time frame for this lingam. It's a Swayambhu lingam. There is no time frame. The first person who found the lingam was Lord Indra. This is why he came and did his first puja after to repent for all the sins he did. This is where he came and did the penance and puja. But now this lingam has no time frame, specific time. Nobody could say it. There is no books that say when this lingam formed or what is the age. No, it's timeless. Just like the Sri Rangam Lord Ranganatha, there is no time frame. So just like that, this is one of them. Now, during the invasion of the Mughals, that was during the 13th, 14th century, Malik Kafur was on a rage, destroying many temples in the south. And of course, he came to Meenakshi temple. And he did loot Meenakshi like no other temple. He looted it because Pandyas were a very rich kingdom. They had so many riches, and usually all the riches are kept in the temple. Usually everything is kept in the temple. So what Malik Kafur did was he chained the king. After all the fights, the king was captured, and he chained the king outside the temple grounds in the wall. Now the Praja was inside the temple, still fighting the army. I mean, you can just imagine what the people have gone through to save our temples. It's unimaginable. And what they had done is they constructed a wall protecting the lingam, the actual lingam. They made a wall. Every temple they did that, if you notice. They made a wall and protected the temple and made a fake lingam outside. So the soldiers from the Mughal army would think that is the actual lingam and destroy it and be happy, So they did that to both the goddesses Sannidhi and the Sundareshwarar Sannidhi. They blocked the Sannidhi with a fake wall. And there are some stories where they have said that when the wall, after everything was over, when the wall was broken down, the lamp was still burning and the flowers that were offered to the Lord were still fresh, like it was offered then. So that's unimaginable. That's really incredible. So that is what it was. Now, it has 5 entrances, but the 4 main entrances. It has 15 gopurams. The tallest one is 170 feet, and it's a southern gopuram. The oldest gopuram was the eastern gopuram, the eastern tower. Now, these gopurams are repainted and repaired every 12 years. No wonder it looks so beautiful. They're very well maintained. It is believed that Kulasekara Pandyan built the city in the shape of a lotus around the lingam. How beautiful. Now, this temple is mentioned in the Tevarams. Tevarams are what? The beautiful poems sung by all the Nayanmars. And those are the Tevarams sung by Sundarar, Tirungnana Sambandar, Manikya Vachakar. Right. Now, the shrines of the goddess Meenakshi and Lord Sundareshwarar are covered by golden vimanam. Now, the ceilings and the inner corridors are fully painted, colorfully. It's beautiful. You have to visit this temple. I can't even put it in words. So many paintings. Wherever you look, there are paintings. There are about 33,000 exquisite sculptures in this temple complex. Now, this is one of the 5 places where Lord Shiva danced the Nadanam as Nataraja. So it's the Velli Ambalam. This is one of the places he danced. This temple has around 15,000 people who visit it every day. This is the usual crowd every day, you can imagine. Now on Fridays, it's a little higher, it's 25,000. And can you imagine what is that for Tirukalyana? 1 million. 1 million devotees flock to this temple for the deities, for the beautiful goddess Meenakshi and Sundareshwarar's wedding. How beautiful. It is said that those days, the Pandya kings received taxes from all the people when they were building this temple, that is. You know how many Pandya kings have built this temple? So many Pandya kings have had a hand in it. Now, when they were building this temple, they used to take taxes from the people. And what kind of taxes they took? The kings asked for a handful of rice from every household every day. So they're supposed to give a handful of rice every day, every household. Somebody will come with a bag and they just throw one handful of rice into that bag. Now, what is that used for? That is used to feed all the builders of the temple. So that was used to feed all the builders. See how every family in Madurai contributed in building this temple. Every family contributed. So when our temple is being built, we have to contribute some way or the other. It's so beautiful to hear this. The Madurai is not a small city. Every person there has a hand in that temple. Beautiful. This is what makes you happy when you read, you know. Now the halls in the temple, there are a lot of halls in this temple. Kambattadi Mandapam. This is where there is a temple tree and there is a Nandi seated here. And the sculptures of Lord Shiva in various manifestations, 25 manifestations, are here as sculptures. And the marriage of Meenakshi and Sundareshwarar is depicted in a beautiful sculpture too, the scene of the marriage. Now, under the Kambattadi, near the Kambattadi Mandapam are huge statues of Veerabhadra and Bhadragali. Now here the story goes like this. During the Muslim invasion and all that, there was a fakir who wanted to build a temple. This temple was under the Muslim, when they captured the area. Malik Kafur came back, though he left that day after, he took all the loots that he got and he left. The people of Madurai gave everything. The king gave everything to save the temple. That is what the Puranas, when you read the Purana of this temple, it will say that everybody in Madurai gave everything they had to save this temple. They begged him. They said, please leave the temple. Take whatever you want. Can you imagine? Everybody. He took everything and went. But then, who are we talking about? Malik Kafur, right? That was not enough. He came back. And that's when it was ruled by the Muslims for some time. And during that time, a fakir wanted to build a mosque in this place. And that time, the Bhadragali, her eyes, there was blood coming out of her eyes. And her eyes was fiery. It was like her eyes was on fire. The fakir got scared, and of course the idea was dropped. He didn't do it. But then the Hindus went and put butter on her eyes. They apply butter. Even today, it's applied for 700 years now, and it's still applied. They're still applying the butter even to this day. So that's the beautiful story behind the butter applying on Bhadrakali in this temple. Now, there is the next one is Ashta Shakti Mandapam, where there's a hall of 8 goddesses. Now, this was built by the Thiruvalaiyadal. Now, Thiruvalaiyadal is a big hand in this temple. He's the one who made it look so majestic. Arag, the beauty, the magnanimity, the whole splendor of this temple was created by Thiruvalaiyadal. And both the queens built this mandapam, Ashtashakti mandapam, and the queen Rudrapati and Toliyammal, they both built this Ashtashakti mandapam. Now, Pancha Pandava mandapam have the hall of the 5 Pandava sculptures there. There's Mangayar Karasi mandapam. We'll know who Mangayar Karasi is now in a bit. I'll be telling a story now. Now, in honor of this queen who contributed so much to Shaivism and Tamil language. Tamil was the language. Golu Mandapam. This is where the Navaratri Golu festival happens every year. Now, Kilikudu Mandapam. This is where they used to have parrots. Meenakshi's pet. Goddess Meenakshi's pet. They used to have parrots and they taught the parrots to say her name. So all of the parrots would say Meenakshi. They would say Meenakshi. So this was what it was. Now, the other beautiful thing about this temple is Mukuruni Pillayar. He spoke so much. We cannot leave Pillayar out, right? This temple, he's the Raja. Sometimes you forget who the Moolavar is. Because, I'm not kidding, so many people know Mukuruni Pillayar. Now, there are a lot of Pillayars in so many temples. There are a lot of other the gods in so many temples. But no one, unless they are the Moolavar. Now, we know Uchi Pillayar, he's the Moolavar. He's the main deity in that temple. But he's not the Moolavar, but everybody know him. So Mukuruni Pillayar he's got it. So he is inside Meenakshi temple. His sanctum is in between the goddess Meenakshi and Sundareshwarar Sannidhi. So if you want to see any of them, you need to pass by Lord Ganesha. It's like taking his permission to enter. You cannot miss seeing him and enter the Sannidhi. It's not possible. Anywhere you come from, you have to pass through Mukuruni Pillayar. Not an ordinary statue. This statue of Pillayar was actually found as is. He's 8 feet tall. He's huge. He's very huge. And he's big, like he's tall and big on the sides, like wide and tall. It's so cute. It's like a big teddy bear, like, so cute. Now, why is he called Mukuruni? We'll come to that. Now, how was he found? Okay. This Thiruvalaiyadal wanted to build a big Teppakolam. That is a tank. near the temple. So it was like 3 kilometers away from the temple, outside the temple, of course. 3 kilometers away, he was digging to make this tank. When he was digging to make this tank, they found this pillar, this huge pillar below. They carefully dug him out, and obviously Thirumalai Nayakar got this dream that Mukurani Pillayar, this Pillayar had to be placed outside the Ambal and the Shivan Sannidhi in Meenakshi temple, and he went and placed him there. Now, not only that, this Pillayar has a significance because he also has devotees over there. One fine day, he is disguised in the form of a small boy, and he has gone to help his devotee, one of the farmers in Madurai. And he went and helped him, and the farmer said, now I have nothing to give you. So this is a small lad, right? I have nothing to give you. You tell me what you want. What are you expecting if you help me? What do you expect? So this boy says, just give me moonu kurni. So that's a measure, 3 kurnis of rice, the grains, rice grains, he says. So the farmer says, okay, I can do that. I'll give you that as the wages, right? So after the boy did all the work, the day came when he has to be paid, and the farmer gave him 3 kurnis of rice. Now, what did Pillayar do? The next morning, the priest comes to the temple and he sees the rice over there outside Sannidhi. Now the Pillayar comes in the priest's dream and tells him to make korakate out of the grains for him. He demands for a big, huge korakate. So that's how the name Mukuruni Pillayar. So even today, the Nevedyam on special days is a huge big korakate with 3 kurnis of rice. It's not a small measurement. It's like 18 measures of rice. And that's a huge korakate which only 4 or 5 people have to carry it and come and place it in front of us. Look how he gets his job done, no? He gets what he wants. He gets what he wants, wherever he is. That's why, on Ganesha Chaturthi, they say, the Moolavar is forgotten. This Mukurani Pillayar becomes the Moolavar. So Madurai temple is flooded with devotees for Ganesha. Though it's the king and the queen take a back seat that day, their son takes the front seat. So he's like no other. Wherever he goes, he makes a mark. The cutest Pillayar. Now that is the story of Mukurani Pillayar. So no other temple makes such a big korakate. That's another thing. No other temple offers such a huge korakate to the Lord. But of course, there is another temple. It's the Uchi Pillayar. There also they make a very big korakate for the Pillayar. But this story is incredible. Now, coming to another story in Madurai. Interesting story. One of the Pandya kings. It's during the time when Jainism was growing. This was during the 7th century when Jainism was growing really big, and the Pandyans were ruling at that time. And this king was Nindrasir Nedumaran, was the king of the Madurai city at that time. Now he converted to Jainism because something kind of appealed to him and he converted to Jainism. Now Jainism was spreading like crazy in South India at that time. Soon everyone, his subjects, because the king changed to Jainism, all his subjects also, followed. Now the queen and the minister, did not change to Jainism. Those, they kept their mouth sealed. They didn't say anything against it, but they remained Shiva Bhaktas. They remained Shiva worshippers quietly. Now the queen was Mangayar Karasi. She's the one I told you, the mandapam that was made dedicated to her. This is the queen, Mangayar Karasi. And the minister, they both were Shaivites. Now it caused immense agony to the queen that the king has converted to Jainism, and he has thrown, it's okay to convert, but then he just did not believe in Lord Shiva anymore. Now to these two, it was a sad agony state, the minister and the queen, they used to sit and talk about it every day, how do we solve this problem? Now then they realized, they got a news that a small boy is coming to the area. So he was in Vedaranyam and he's on the way. And so who was he? Tirugana Sambandar. Now Tirugana Sambandar, we did the session on Tirugana Sambandar, and we got to know that he's such a young boy, a Shiva Bhakta. And there's so much to learn from this little lad. So he was in the area performing so many miracles as he went. The best, the favorite of the Lord and Ambal. Now they sent an invitation to Tirugana Sambandar. Knowing that he's in the area, they sent an invitation through their subjects, and they went, and the person went and gave him the note. Tirugana Sambandar read it, and he said, yes, I will definitely come to Madurai and visit the queen. As promised, he entered Madurai. The minute he entered Madurai, the Jains got to know that he has entered the Madurai city, and they got to know the plan. The queen has invited Tirugana Sambandar. So they needed to do something. They were scared. If the king changed back to Shaivism, the Jains are going to lose whatever they wanted to do. They wanted to build more Jain temples. All that will go, right? Obviously, they didn't want that happening. So they set fire to the place that Tirugana Sambandar was staying in. They went and set fire to that place. But Tirugana Sambandar is not an ordinary devotee. Will the Lord keep quiet? Whatever it is, when anybody thinks or causes harm to a person who's spreading the name of the Lord, he's not sitting and building some castle or sitting and enjoying those luxuries. Here he is, walking, spreading the name of the Lord everywhere, not thinking about himself, but the community, serving everybody, the Lord's devotee. And someone thinks of causing him a harm. You think the Lord will sit and keep quiet? That little lad has surrendered everything to the Lord. You think the Lord will sit and keep quiet? No. This is why surrender is so powerful. When you surrender, you really don't have to think about all these things. The Lord has your back. The Lord has got your back. Exactly what happened to Tirugana Sambandar. The Lord had it back. He protected this little boy. The fire that was set over there transformed and went back to the king. Nothing happened to the lad. Nothing happened to Tirugana Sambandar. He was fine. Even his followers were fine. His disciples were all protected. But the fire went back to the king, because the king knew that the Jains had planned this and he never stopped them. The fire went back to the king, and the king experienced a sense of burning sensation all over his body. So much burn. It was like his whole body was on fire. But nobody can see the fire. What an agony, huh? That's when the next day Thiruvalaiyadal Samandar visited the palace. He visits the palace and the queen greets him inside, gives him all respect. And here the king is like suffering in pain. The whole time. He's in full total pain. There is nobody knows what's happening. He's like, I feel like I'm burning. I'm sitting on fire. The king is screaming. Who can help a person when they can't even see the fire? They don't know what's going on. The Jains are all sitting there. They don't know how to help the king. The Jain monks are all sitting there, and Thiruvalaiyadal Samandar enters, and he takes the vibhuti out of his bag, and he was going to apply on the right side of the king to relieve the pain. He's applying on the right side, and he sings a padigam. The padigam, I want to sing a few lines for you. மந்திரமாவது நீரு வானவர் மேலது நீரு சுந்தரமாவது நீரு துதிக்கப்படுவது நீரு தந்திரமாவது நீரு சமயத்தில் உள்ளது நீரு செந்துவர் வாயுமை பங்கன் திரு ஆலவயான் திருநீரு. It's just one phrase. How beautiful. I'll tell you the meaning. Mandiramavadu Neeru. Neeru means vibhuti. It carries all the miraculous qualities. And it has graced all the devas, devargal, celestial beings. Vanavar meladu neeru. Sundaramavadu neeru. So beautiful. Beholder of beauty in every possible nature. Tudikkapaduvadu neeru. Tandiramavadu neeru. A receptacle of the divine energy. And it's a boon for a spiritual seeker. Samayathil ullathu neer. Senduvar vai umai pangan. Profound in the nature of the sacred ash, graced by the deity of Thiruvalayadal. Thiruvalayadal is the deity in Madurai. Sundareshwarar. Graced by the Lord Shiva. There are more stanzas, but I just want to give you the picture of how Thiruvalaiyadal Samandar sang this padigam and applied this vibhuti on the right side of the king, and to help the relieve the pain. And in contest, immediately the Jains jumped to, in contest with it, and they applied it on the left side of the king. With the peacock feathers, they were chanting their mantrams and stroking his hand with the peacock feather, but it only aggravated the pain on the left side, and the king felt a lot of relief on his right side. But the left side, there was aggravated pain. Now the minister immediately requested, please, the Jains to stop. Said, please stop, the king is not feeling any relief there. So Samandar again, what did Thiruvalaiyadal Samandar do? He put his vibhuti on the left side too and relieved the pain the king was facing. And immediately the king, both the sides were relieved. He felt so much relief. Now the king realized the power, but still, that stupid head doesn't accept it immediately. The mind, right? Remember the session where we did the mind control? It's always a problem. Mind is a problem. Now the Jains challenged the Trignana Sambandha. He said, okay, if your mantras are so powerful, let's do one last test. We'll write both our religious texts in a palm leaf and we will put it in fire. And whatever palm leaf survives the fire is the winner. The Jains say. Now, Trignana Sambandha did not go for any contest. Why would he go for any contest? He already knows the power of Lord Shiva. But the Jains wanted this. So he had to give in. He said, okay. And Trignana Sambandha wrote in the palm leaf. What did he write? He wrote a padigam. He wrote a padigam that he had sung in the shrine of the Darbaranyeshwarar in Tirunallar. We have spoken about this temple in the session Shani Bhagavan. We have spoken about this shrine in detail. Now he is coming after visiting the shrine. Trignana Sambandha visited this Darbaranyeshwarar, sung this padigam in front of the Lord over there, and he came here. So that's the padigam he wrote in the leaf, the palm leaf. And he put it in the fire. Now, as he was putting it in the fire, he sang it. And the palm leaf was untouched. No, the flames did not do anything to it. Whereas for the Jains, when they put their palm leaf with their text in it, it was gone. It was in ashes. The very minute. Next minute, it was in ashes. So that's how Trignana Sambandha came to Madurai and re-established Shaivism as the true religion in Pandyan capital. Pandyan capital being Madurai. So that is the glory of Madurai, glory of the Lord Sundareshwarar, glory of the mother goddess Meenakshi, and the glory of the Pandyas, the glory of Trignana Sambandha. With that, we come to an end of the session. Madhyoli Charanam Jai Nandalal.